Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining us for another Rare Leader conversation with myself, Tony Jalen, and the wonderful. All right. Why can't I hear you? All right. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but I'm not able to hear you. So we're going to get that figured out here in a second. Hey, for those guys who are joining us for the first time, welcome. You can join us on Tuesdays at 12:01 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have a whole bunch of different topics that we go ahead and discuss. This month, we're going to talk a lot about teamwork and goals and really finishing up this next half of the year strong. So we have 5 months left until 2023. Where has the time gone, Danielle?
Mhm.
And so last week, we were actually at AAU Boys National Championships in Orlando, Florida, with our son Ezekiel, and I also had we had the great opportunity to coach him. Thank you to amazing team parent Danielle for all the behind the scene work you did, and the boys did good, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, they finished 11th overall out of how many teams?
I think it had 59 there in their age group.
Yeah, 59 teams. So there was a big time display of teamwork and really along the subject of momentum that they had for the whole week there. It was 4 days of volleyball. And I told our son that I was not going to think about volleyball for a week. That has not happened. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about 7 quick things you can do today to build momentum. And, you know, you may have a goal in mind, you're working hard to get there. It might be something that you're after, something that's very personal to you, has some meaning to you. Um, it might be you're concentrating solely on your career right now. It could be solely on your health and fitness or your finances. Whatever it is you want, you're probably hungry for it. You want it, and you can't wait to really see the culmination of all your hard work. Only thing is that everything might be seeming to move somewhat slow right now. And what that is actually a lack of momentum. And momentum is what pushes you into action. It speeds you up as you work the steps and keeps you going. So what do you do when momentum is lagging? Well, you find ways to build it. And today we're going to talk about 7 quick things you can do to build momentum today, whether that be in your career, your business, your relationships, your health, finances, whatever it may be. We're going to share some things with you. So, last week we talked about, actually, no, a couple weeks ago, we talked about teamwork and the importance of that. And I think one of the things in terms of building momentum is to actually pause and do a mid-year review and check in with an accountability partner, reviewing your goals versus what actually has happened. Actually, I just did that with my June board that's in front of me right here. And why is that such an important thing to do? Because I think sometimes we might gloss over actually reflecting on what happened. I know I sometimes do.
Well, I think it's important to check in and just see where you're at, because you actually could be a lot more closer to where your goal is than you think that you are, because we sometimes start to focus on the things that didn't happen versus the things that did happen.
Yeah, so true. When I was looking at the goals up there, one of the goals last month was to release 15 pounds, and I released half of it. But at first I was like, oh. So that's a good point. What about having like an accountability partner to actually sit down and talk with?
Well, this way you have someone that knows where your goals are, and if you start to get distracted, that they can help pull you back onto the path that you were initially trying to go down.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's not a comfortable conversation to go into. I mean, we have a mastermind every on Thursdays at 7 a.m., which we talk about, what did we commit to, whether we did it or not. I think that's one of the things that really helps with momentum because it's going to happen to you when you least expect it, I think, because you did the little things each and every day. I mean, I look at how our team finished this last month, and it was an incredible finish. And when we left to our trip to Orlando, I didn't think we were going to get there, to be honest with you. But the momentum that we created, it's the 60 days prior, did make a difference. So if you're going to do that mid-year review, I encourage you, one, to grab your calendar out, get your goals out, what worked, what didn't work, and what's like the one or two things you can do to improve. Another term way to quickly build momentum. We actually did this as a team in Orlando. We found this vacant part of the arena, and it was like our little secret place to go into, the boys and myself. And we did our walkthrough for the first game of the tournament, and also we did a visualization exercise. I think it made a big difference because that first game we came out swinging. So if you were to take some time to visualize the future, and that's the second way to go ahead and build some momentum today. What are some things, Danielle, that you've done in the past in terms of visualizing the future, things that, are what's next, of seeing yourself in the future in a way to build positive momentum going forward?
Just finding like pictures or something like what, where my goal is at, like what do I want to have in that goal? And so just finding like some different pictures to look at. And then like also writing it out, and being as descriptive as possible in the process of it. Because the more details that you can elaborate on, the more clear that your picture can become.
Yeah, like, I mean, that could be as clear as, say, for example, you want a tighter family unit, putting a picture together of a happy family, you know? It could be a picture of yourself of, having that washboard abs. You might already have it. For those guys watching, you might already have it. I'm talking about me right here. But seeing yourself as if it's already happened. Um, Here's another thing. How about just getting up, like number two, or number three, I should say, getting up and just doing something. I think it's so easy to grow stagnant. Um, how about, like, what are some things that you can do? For example, think about your goals that you want to achieve for the last half of the year here, Danielle. What are some things that you thought of to do to get up and do something?
A lot of it is just movement. So like just starting with one thing, whether it's working out, just putting the shoes on and actually just going for a walk. The next day it may be that run, and then you can just kind of continue to build upon that. But just like doing something, being active in some sort of way. Um, as far as like what it could be as simple as like get up and do something, but like maybe not do something. Like if we're trying to pay off debt, not spending the money on something that's not necessarily needed right now, but that we want. So just waiting and not doing that. So like delayed gratification in that sense too.
Right. Rather than binge watch the latest Netflix sitcom, you actually say get up and do something. And that could now, we're talking about health there for a moment, but that could be in your relationships. Like, what's that one thing you can do, like, just to go ahead and add a little extra spice to your relationships or a deeper connection in your relationships? It could be at your job, like making that one more call, like just getting up and doing it. Something I think you, in terms of getting up and doing something, like something that's inspirational to fill you with some enthusiasm that, once you do it, you'll be proud that you did it. The next way is to build momentum is learning. An active mind is a creative mind. And I'm not talking, you gotta go all in and do a complete immersion, but like just 10 to 15 minutes a day will actually improve your cognitive functions around things. So, in terms of your goals, and and I'll share a couple of things that I'm doing in terms of my goals. What's something in terms of that you're doing to feed the creative side of your mind, the active side of your mind, in terms of help you get closer to your goals to build some extra momentum?
Um, Reading, because sometimes it's easy to not read, but just to continue reading, whether it's a relationship book or it's a book about running or health and fitness. Um, my word was discipline, so different things that can help me continue to stay on that path of consistency most more.
Yeah. For me, I like to. I'll read books on coaching. I'm reading a book right now in terms of Florence Shin. She talks about the secret word. It's probably in my book, my bag right over here. Um, there's something to be said about reading, right? Like if if you can get one idea of a 300-page book, it was worth that book because that one idea could be the one thing that um, propels you. Oh, there's my book right there. I'm reading right now.
Mhm.
See this book right here, The Complete Works of Florence Shinn, and she actually talks about in here in her book is she said a man without a smiling face must not open a shop. And I think learning creates happiness, like because you're progressing, you're gaining something new that you can share with others. Um, Here's the next tip to go ahead and build some momentum. This is a big one for those who are watching. This is a big one. This might be the most important one of all the ones that we go through here today. Act when you don't feel like it. Let's talk about that. Is there ever a perfect time to work?
No.
No. Why is it so important to do something when you don't feel like it?
One it the it you base your stuff off feelings. So once you start actually doing something, you'll realize that it wasn't as bad as it was, and you'll actually begin to feel better, I think. Um, and just by not doing something because you don't feel like it doesn't justify not having it done.
Explain more about that. Like dig deeper into that.
Well, it just lays the foundation for excuses to be made, and if something's not being done and you're making excuses for it, well, I just didn't feel like it, so it didn't get done. Well, that's just an excuse to be lazy, and um, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to momentum, it means keep on going and doing it when you don't feel like it, right? I mean, human psychology says we do things because we want to experience a certain emotion. So sometimes it could be running away from pain. Like, I did not want to go ahead and work on our yard on Sunday. I really didn't because we just got back from our trip from Orlando. I was like spent. I was like, it's gonna be nice just to relax. I don't feel like getting that tiller out right now because it's hot outside. I mean, the things start going in my head. But then Neil's like, "Hey, they're gonna be here by 3 o'clock. We gotta get the yard done." I'm like, "Okay, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go." And sometimes you just got to do it. In the book, of the University of Success by Og Mandino, he says to do this phrase and say it 50 wake up. And I've actually done this before, and it's helped me get going and doing something when I just wasn't quote unquote feeling like it. And it was do it now, 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 do it now. Like do it now. Say that 50 times and tell me that you won't be motivated. Tell me you won't be inspired to do something. And that's one of the ways to create momentum is you got to act when you don't feel like it because that's when also it helps build confidence in my opinion that when you do when you don't feel like, oh, okay, I did it. Like I may not, grow 25-inch biceps after just one workout, but you do it when don't feel like it. And here's another one to create momentum today is put your phone away. Giving yourself the gift of uninterrupted time does wonders for momentum. You ready to say something?
Unless your workout is on it.
Unless your workout's on it. But then don't look at text messages. Turn off your notifications. Give yourself uninterrupted time. I remember this was years ago when I really was challenged just, put your phone away on the weekend. I remember I put it in that top drawer. It was like, you know, Or here's how you okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. Here's how you know sometimes that you might be addicted to your phone, that you might have a slight problem if you bring the phone when you're going to the bathroom. Guys, I'm talking to you. If you go ahead and bring a phone to the bathroom when you're going number one and you're at the urinal on your phone, you might have a phone problem that you need to go ahead and work through. If you want to create momentum, put your phone away, right? And I'm not just talking for all day. Put it away for an hour. Say, for example, you want to get better in your relationships with your significant other and your kids. Put the phone away. Have a workout. Like next time, I challenge you guys to watch this. Next time you're working out or you're at the gym, watch how many people are on their phones. And you could tell they're doing something on it. They're texting or they're sending an email. Like if you want to create some momentum, you got to make time for you. All right. And I really believe this. You're going to be able to relax more, recharge, explore, and forge ahead a lot better with like a bigger bucket. I was talking to someone just last night. They own a restaurant and they took a vacation for the first time in 3 years. And I asked him like, "When's the last time you took a vacation?" He goes, "Oh, at least 3 years ago." I go, "How did that feel?" He goes, "Oh my gosh." He goes, "The phone wasn't ringing. You know, I didn't have people calling me, customers." He goes, "I am so grateful for the business that I have. I have a great business, but it just felt good to just get away." Here's the next one: quit. When it comes to momentum, if you found yourself slowing down, it might be because what you're doing just doesn't work. Have you ever done that, Danielle? Like, realize that the smart thing for you to do is just to stop?
Yeah, just like not necessarily stopping, but adjusting what you're doing. Like you don't have to quit trying to work for your goal. It just adjusting what you're doing and making some changes to make it more efficient.
And the one of the things I do in terms of like suggesting to make changes is track it. When I track my meals, I do 10 times better than versus when I don't track my meals. When I track my calls and making, prospecting calls or recruiting calls, when I track it, I do 10 times better than versus when I don't track it. It's hard to manage what you don't measure. Um, Here's another one to create momentum. Do something scary. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like on Sunday when I was doing yard work. I don't really recall the last time I used a tiller in my life.
I know it
You,
hasn't been with me, so
hey, right. We've been together for 22 years. 22 years this year, yeah. And I had to learn a few things on the fly. And Ezekiel's like, "Dad, you're gonna be running the tiller this weekend." Okay. And I'm not gonna lie, today, even though it's 2 days later, I'm a little sore today still. And it was a little scary doing it. Um, I think one of the ways to create momentum is do something that scares you. It might picking up that phone call to for that one prospect, um, asking your significant other out on a date. Um, that doesn't scare me, but I'm gonna ask you, Danielle, would you go on a date with me on Saturday? Just a side note.
we'll see.
What? I
I have to
put you
look
on.
at the calendar. I don't know what's going on this weekend.
I put her on the spot, ladies and gentlemen. And I get a will see. See, that was scary right there. Put myself out there. It's a challenge, like I said, that pushes you to new limits. Um, and when you do something that's easy, that's when momentum lags. So think about a time when you did something you knew that was going to be easy to do. Like for you, why has it been important for you to challenge yourself to do things you never thought you would?
Just to keep the confidence built, like doing things even though they're scary, but yet still doing them and at least trying because it's you're not going to know and until you do something when you first start doing something you're never good at it. You always have to continue to work on it to improve yourself. So
You gotta be ugly before you look good. We talked about that in the other calls. Yeah. How have you like helped yourself get through that though? The ugliness side of it.
well, a lot of it, like right now, we have a little issue in the basement, and that was one big portion of my marathon training was going to be doing speed work on the treadmill, which now I can't use at this moment. So now I'm having to look at going and running in a gym again. Like it's probably been 3 years since I've run on a treadmill in the gym in front of people, and it's like that thing, like oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me. Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Like, but still having to do it because I know if I want to get better, I'm gonna have to do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think what it does is interesting. One of the players that I coach, he goes, "What haven't you done? You know, who haven't you met?" And I think that's so important to do something that scares you because you got to get that. I mean, your success is determinant on the level of your comfort zone, right? And there's self one and self two. And self one, I'm listening to the book right now, The Inner Game of Tennis. It's the analytical side, and the self two is like just gets in the zone, doesn't have to think about it. Just sort of like a little baby. Like the little baby doesn't think like I'm gonna fail every time I get up and walk and crawl. They just go do it and they fall down and they get back up. They fall down, they get up. And I think, if you need to do something scary, whether that be give up your Mountain Dew that you like to have, um, you know, cancel a membership to something that you're like, oh, I'm like, I have, but not really been using it. Um, it expands that comfort zone. And then when you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, I think that's when you really start to grow, right? It's like when I coach athletics, in volleyball, a player that doesn't think they're a good passer. Well, I put them purposely in a situation where they have to learn how to pass. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what, I'm not so bad after all. Then they all of a sudden want to be a setter and all that libero. Um, those are some ways in which you can create some momentum. Number one, do a mid-year review and check in with an accountability partner. I mean, what did you set out to do versus what you actually did? Visualize the future. Get up and do something. Learn stuff. Act when you don't feel like it. Put your phone away. Quit. Finally, do something scary. Um, as we close up here and just talk about 7 quick things you can do to build momentum, Danielle, what's something that maybe were bonuses that we just didn't talk about?
I think just I think the biggest thing is just to do something, whether it's making an extra phone call or walking an extra block or just doing something that's going to help move you forward versus just sitting there and thinking about it because the time and energy you spend thinking that you should do something and not doing it was time that you could have just done it and not even and made progress going forward versus just sitting there.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm can say I'm guilty. There's sometimes I've thought so much about doing something that 2 hours later I'm like, I could have had that done in a half an hour, you know, or like our lawn. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer than it did. Don't get me wrong. It did take me a little bit of time, but it didn't take as long as I thought it would. So, for those of you guys who are watching, when we talk about being a rare leader, it's a leader who's willing to rise up, who's resourceful, adaptable, resilient, and willing to engage and with others. And our part of our mission is to provide the tools and the resources, just having the conversation around the ways go up and light up your life, personally and professionally, to make a difference, make an impact. And remember that, you're the one in charge of your destiny. It's up to you to act. And I shared this morning online. I think I'm going to share the same quote here today with you guys. And it's a Chinese proverb, and said that he who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived. So with that thought, hey, we're going to see you guys next Tuesday, 12:01 p.m. here for our next rare conversation. It's going to be a banger. It's going to be great. Make sure to put it on your calendar. If you found value in today's conversation, I encourage you and invite you to share this with others. Well, until next week, I'm Tony Jalen, joined by the wonderful Daniil Jalen. Onward and upwards. See you next week.